5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And now for our feature presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Botching It Up podcast. Every bruise, bump, and botch. Wrestling, you've been put on notice. Let's get ready to ramble!
What's up? This is the Botching It Up podcast, and this week we're doing the best and worst of 2020, the Botchie Awards. As always, you're with me, Benito, and my good friend Basil.
In the words of Jim Cornette at the 1996 Slammies, thank you very little, you're welcome even less.
Brilliant. That one deserves a clap. Even.
Thank you very much. And this is a festive season, Ben. This is the most important Botching It Up wrestling podcast of the year, because we are talking about the worst, and probably maybe in another podcast, which is going to be crudely edited away from this one, the best of the year. And what a year it's been. I mean, I think everybody says that every year with a wrestling podcast show, what a year it's been. But we actually have been watching wrestling during the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, dude, what a year it's been. Come on.
I mean, you have had a series of uprisals and downfalls this year, and I credit for you to just keep carrying on. Every time you've got a plan, it goes to fail, and then you spring up another plan, and then the pandemic shoots you down, says, son, you're getting jobbed tonight. But you just keep going.
Thanks for that. Thanks for reminding how bad my life is.
But we're talking about the worst of the year tonight, and it does kind of feel bad, right? It kind of feels like you're being a little bit of a dick, considering everything that's going on around you. When
it came to worst male, worst female, I felt so bad trying to pick someone that's like the worst of everybody.
Sure. But the thing is, there's still a lot of bad wrestling out there, and we're there to talk about it, regardless of whether they're following COVID safety measures. They can be doing everything in the world to provide us with entertainment during the middle of a pandemic, but they could still be shit.
Yep.
So here we go. We're going to start with smaller things. We'll start with smaller things. We'll start with the easiest thing that I had to decide. I didn't even think about it. It was within a second. Worst announcer of the year, Ben.
Ooh, this one's so easy for me.
And it's not going to be mine either.
Is it not?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, no, it's not. I know who yours is. So mine's Josh Matthews. And I'll give you my reasoning. I completely can't watch Impact because of him.
I mean, it's a very valid choice. He is my least favourite part of Impact Wrestling. And you're not even the first person that said they can't watch Impact because of Josh Matthews' voice. So with that, I thought you were going to go with something lame like Michael Cole, but I completely give you Josh Matthews.
If they replaced him, I actually think I could watch Impact on the weekly.
Yeah.
I generally think so.
Yeah, I think that is a massive issue for so many people. And recently, they've taken away Madison Rayne, who was doing commentary with Josh Matthews, which is just, I'm sure they're nice as people, but it's just an awful commentary team. And they replaced Madison Rayne with Matt Stryker. So
okay, that's a step up.
But not that much of a step up, is it, really?
It's better. It's better.
I don't think Impact has any idea what to do with their commentary, or they just really like obnoxious people. You
say that, but I quite liked a Stryker at Lucha Underground.
Maybe he's gotten better in the last couple of years, but I found him insufferable during the WWE days.
Oh yeah, back then he was hard. What you got?
So just to clarify, first of all, I should have probably put this in the intro. We haven't actually talked to each other about our picks. So this is probably a lot more interesting to us than it is to anybody listening.
Probably.
My worst announcer is Excalibur.
I knew that was coming.
He is the living embodiment to me of the fan base that AEW try to attract, which is the Mountain Dew drinking, basement dwelling, living in their mother's basement, spots all over their face, handicapped wrist because they've wanked too much, wanker wrestling fan. And that's what Excalibur shouts like he has just finished playing Mortal Kombat and eaten 3 pizzas, and he knows all of the special moves on Mortal Kombat. That's how he approaches wrestling. moves.
You've never had a business studies class in your life, have you? Because almost every podcast you offend our core demographic. The people that are probably going to listen to this podcast.
100%, but it's wrestling. You got to have a heel.
Anyway, I don't hate him, but I completely understand where you're coming from. For a national program, he probably doesn't fit, but at the same time, he's so like deep in this kind of wrestling style that AEW are doing that he kind of fits.
I understand that he fits within the demographic that they're chasing, but I think AEW need to understand that that demographic has a glass ceiling. And if they're going to move on to a national product, normal people will not want to listen to Excalibur. They won't want to hear his commentary. Jim Ross says something like, "That's a pile driver," and Excalibur would be like, "No, it's not. It's an indie taker."
Right, yeah.
And like a family would just sit there and think, "Who is this geek?" You know. Can I just say, I want to defend Excalibur in the fact that I think that sometimes Jim Ross actually bullies him a little too much, and I don't enjoy that. I don't like seeing on-air bullying from Jim Ross. I don't enjoy that at all. If he wants to become a mainstream commentator and AEW needs to move forward, either AEW lets Excalibur go, or Excalibur goes and gets some actual non-independent industry experience and then comes back.
But surely the more he's going to work with Schiavone and JR, that's just going to happen. To be fair, even from a year and a half ago, I think he's better than he was.
I'm sure he's improved a little bit, but he still needs to tone down these some of the rants that he goes on, where he talks about he was talking about Hikaru Shida, or I think it was Thunder Rosa, having a championship that from a promotion that nobody had ever heard of. And I get it, bro. I'm a nerd fact checker as well. Like, I know all these obscure things too. I wouldn't put them on a national program because nobody wants to know them. You know, I think that's the main thing he has to learn. But anyway, it's got to be Excalibur. It'll probably be Excalibur next year, but whatever, man.
What's next? Come on.
Okay, let's go with West non-wrestling content. What do you got?
I got every Impact promo.
Okay. You're not really down with the vibe where the little fat guy, Chris D'Amore, comes in and starts shouting at people and rolls up his little script writing piece of paper.
It's like their film crew doesn't even know what a light is, and when you watch like some of their stuff, you realize why WWE are so keen on scripting everybody. You know, some of the stuff they do is generally brilliant, and I'll be more specific. I'm not talking about like a lot of their in-ring stuff where someone grabs a mic. A lot of people that work in Impact are generally brilliant. And some of them even backstage are doing some really good stuff. Even Rhino and Heath Slater, the stupid stuff they do, actually sometimes it's on point. But they do so much of this, like, you know, like the videos you'd get in like a reality TV show or like a competition show like X Factor, where it's like, oh, we're introducing this person, this is their life, this is what they do for a living, this is their catchphrase. Impact do that a bit too much, and it just gets so annoying. But I have no interest in.
It's not even. I think another point you're making is it's not even X Factor level. It's like one of these weird Sky Channel 472, where you've got a reality show on a shoestring budget of about $1,000, and it's about some hillbillies in the backyards of Texas.
Sure,
that's the sort of quality level that it's at.
Sure. So that's what I've got.
You're already shitting on Impact.
Yeah, to be fair, that is it for Impact now. It's just you've hit the two Impact ones straight out of the gate.
I think I've got an Impact coming. Anyway,
I've got a best four, a couple of best fours for Impact as well, though. So
about 6 months ago, if you'd asked me this question, it would have immediately become Being the Elite, BTE, the YouTube wrestling content that the Young Bucks produce just to laugh around with their mates. But
I get that.
I had to write an article, and one of the mandatory components of the article was mentioning how John Silver was underrated. So I had to do some research on him to write the article, and I watched a lot of these Being the Elite things, and as much as I hated to admit it, they did crack me up quite a bit. So I can't go with Becoming the Elite because there's a lot of funny moments on there, mostly caused by the Dark Order and rest in peace Brody Lee. They're the best parts of the show.
I've actually heard that from other people as well, that the guys from the Dark Order are the star players on that.
Yeah, they are at 100%, and I feel like this is where the goodwill for John Silver has actually come from. He's gotten himself over on Becoming the Elite just by being really fucking funny.
Well, he's got himself over on TV as well. It's all his own doing.
Sure, but he's gotten goodwill from BTE. I want to give an honourable mention to Carneyland.
Oh, I remember that. Yes, that was awful. I completely forgot about that.
That was...
can I change my pick? That for sure. That
you come with Carneyland. Okay. That was amongst other things. Stu Grace and Wade Barrett talking as a black spot to an announcer, and they talked about how it was a giant town, and they had had NWA wrestlers going for mayor and stuff, and it lasted like about 3 weeks, and they started their own Patreon, so people were actually paying for this content to be a part of Carneyland.
Yeah, but was anyone paying for this?
Probably at least 2 people, bro.
Maybe some real hardcores.
And they blame it on the fact that Dave Lagana got involved in a sex scandal.
And Billy Corgan's mum.
What?
What, did he? That was bad timing. That was bad timing.
So Dave Lagana got involved in a sex scandal and he stepped down from NWA immediately, which was just a bad thing on top of an already bad year for poor Billy. So I can't really hate them too much because they tried their best, but what they gave in comparison to other companies that sat and thought about what they could provide was really bad. And that's coming from a guy that's respected Billy Corgan for like 10 plus years, but it was just.
But again,
terrible.
That's too many on the creative side. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Sure, but my number one pick, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I absolutely detested the Chris Jericho MJF dance off singing competition.
Dude, that was good.
It was everything that it embodied everything that I hated about AEW, and featured one of my favorite performers in AEW doing silly Family Guy stuff, which I had no time for. It had no meaning. I know that those two were feuding and who was best, who was worse, but it just went straight into How I Met Your Mother sitcom territory, which is always very, very dangerous for a wrestling product, and I really didn't like that.
Can I really boil your blood?
Go on.
Really piss you off?
Go on.
There is a couple of reviews from Broadway magazines, I can't remember what it was called, that positively reviewed this skit.
But but it doesn't boil my blood, because doesn't that prove my point? The Broadway magazines are saying this was fantastic. This was proper Broadway.
Well, wrestling's entertainment. Like I don't hate it as much as you did.
I
actually quite enjoyed it.
I think it's because I'm disappointed in the people involved. Not so much Jericho, because I know he's at this point a fame whore. Like, he'd do anything for a quick buzz or a Twitter trend. I get that.
And he just likes having a laugh, really, I suppose.
And also, I understand that I watched a little thing on MJF. I can't remember what it was, but basically his grandfather loved musicals. And when he was a child, he went onto a talk show and did an opera singer thing. So I get that from this perspective, it was MJF doing something personal for his family and his own life.
Yeah.
And I get that. I understand that.
But it didn't really fit his character.
It didn't fit his character whatsoever. And this is the guy that we're talking about that didn't even turn face when Brody Lee died and still worked it into his character.
They kind of made it work in that it was that he wanted to be better than Jericho, and it was like who could sing and dance the best. And
it rubbed me up the wrong way.
But if you think about it too much, they would have had to work together to in rehearsals to get it right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it.
I promise you that my lists aren't as all elite bashing as they seem to be. Okay?
Well, mine's Impact bashing so far, so that's fine.
Worst B-movie match.
Wow, there's quite a lot to choose from in this category.
Well, the thing
Almost
is,
all
I
of
know
them.
that there were loads and loads of bad ones, but I couldn't I just couldn't bring myself to go back and rewatch them. So I just picked the few that I stick out as being horrible.
I think from them all, there's only 2 good ones, and the rest are all awful. Anyway, I've got Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream, the parking lot brawl from NXT. Can't even remember the show.
In Your House, I think.
Was it the In Your House? Yeah.
Yeah.
That
my
one,
honorable mention.
Because that one just really annoyed me in the fact that they did nothing. They did nothing with cars other than a monster truck showed up. No one jumped off it or anything. They just did nothing. They just rolled around and punched each other. And then Loomis came in and kidnapped someone. And it annoyed me so much.
They rolled around and punched each other endlessly. That was another thing. It was about 20 minutes that they weren't doing anything. It was badly lit. And I think only a few people in the world will get this reference. But it was the exact same setting, the exact same lighting, and the exact same location as Wrong Turn 5, which is not a compliment. not a compliment whatsoever. If anybody has actually in the world watched both Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream and Wrong Turn 5, they'll understand how insulting that is.
There must be only 2 or 3 people in the world that have watched both of those.
But yeah, no, I do agree with you 100%. That was really awful, even with the storyline, like Dexter Loomis kidnapping one of them, I think, and
Kyle O'Reilly or Bobby Fit, one of them, I can't remember which.
It was
Roderick Strong, because it turned into a massive story of Roderick Strong being scared of Loomis.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Adam Cole, and I mean, regardless of the controversy surrounding Velveteen Dream right now, Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream are creative minds and some of the best people in the business in terms of in-ring quality, and Triple H is running that, and really, given the talent involved, this should have been so much better.
Yeah, it was just a massive disappointment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy.
My West B movie match, I've got an honourable mention for the Adam Cole you just talked about.
Yeah.
I've got an honourable mention for Britt Baker versus Big Swole at the Dentist's.
Yeah.
But it's Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders at Backlash 2020.
And Tozawa turns into a ninja.
Tozawa turns into a ninja with people on bikes. The Viking Raiders and the Street Profits play bowling, and one of the bowling balls goes into Ivar's genitals.
Don't we... Actually, I think you're right. This is the worst one ever, because don't we go into, like, daydreams in this one?
Yeah, we go into daydreams with it, and we end up with all 4 in a dumpster on the back lot, and crocodiles and alligators are in the dumpster with them, and then they all scream, and it fades to black. So
basically, they're having a match against each other, and then Tozawa becomes like a common enemy that they fight, and his ninjas, and then the match just ends. No one even wins.
Yeah, the only difference between this and Wrestlers vs Zombies was that this match had better cinematography, but at the same time, Wrestlers vs Zombies had Kurt Angle
and Roddy Piper
and everybody else, and
everyone
Wrestlers
else,
vs Zombies was better.
That's saying something. That's saying a lot.
It was awful, man. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about that anymore. It only came back into my head because we were doing a worst of. My brain actually blocked that out, and there's no way in hell I'm going back to check whether that's the worst one.
I love how much tonight we've been referencing our own Botch Mania universe. We've come back to Doink. We've come back to Wrestlers vs Zombies.
Well, it's our personal best and worst.
It's a celebration of the year, isn't it? I suppose
because we've got to really give it to the listeners, which is at this point me and you.
Can we roll into next gimmick next?
West Gimmick, yeah, sure.
Yeah, because that's almost perfect for me because I got Tozawa as a ninja.
Good pick.
I've also got an honourable mention. Honestly, just to trigger you, King Corbin.
So okay. I've got a lot of honourable mentions for West Gimmick. Do you want me to go through them?
Sure, go on.
So I've got the 24/7 title, which heavily involved Tozawa.
Yeah.
I've got the Jungle Express, Jurassic Express.
I like them. Why? No, it's just Marco Stunt.
Listen. Ignoring Marco Stunt, I think Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are ridiculously talented.
Yeah.
I'm putting them in worst gimmick because I believe that they deserve better.
So you think they would be better away from each other?
I think they would be better away from each other, and Jim Ross is the only guy in the company that calls Jungle Boy Jungle Jack Perry, which to me is such a better name. And I think it's more. I put them in worst gimmick more because of Jungle Boy than anybody else, because I think he's so talented. He needs to get away from the 7-foot freak and the 4-foot freak who jump and flip a lot, and be honed and have some proper matches with Cody, maybe get a new character, because I think he can go to the top of the business, and the Jurassic Express is just killing him, really.
Okay, what about this for a pitch? Jack Perry separates and becomes just like a solid upper mid-carder doing his own thing, but Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt stay as a tag team, but like somewhat a comedy act.
That's fine.
Yeah?
My main issue is Jack Perry.
Right, I'll tell Tony Khan that'll make you happy.
Okay. Then.
And that's what we'll do going forward.
You're talking about triggering me with Baron Corbin, yeah? Mm-hmm. One of my honourable mentions is Baron Corbin.
Oh, okay. See, I don't dislike Baron Corbin, and you've always known this, but I feel like everything they've ever done with him after NXT has just ruined any momentum he ever had.
So I want to clarify here. I've been a Baron Corbin fan for many, many years, as Ben is aware and laughs about a lot. I think this year has been the worst year for Baron Corbin that I've seen. He's been involved in some god-awful angles. His King of the Ring thing, I can't even remember when he won it anymore, but it needs to go.
It's a while ago now.
A long time ago, and he doesn't have a character anymore, and he seems to just be walking around for no reason, getting involved in feuds that last 2 weeks on SmackDown. And I'll give you a spoiler. He's actually a runner-up honourable mention for my least improved as well.
Wow.
Which really hurts me to say, because I do really feel like, and I know this goes against the grain, but I do really feel like Baron Corbin has got so much potential. And I do really feel like when he's utilised properly, he can be a great heel. But this year has just been awful for him from creative, and at the same time, I will admit, I'm trying to be as objective as possible. He has not shown much interest in what he's doing. He's fallen on his laurels, I think, a lot, and he's just kind of going through the paces. You
know what he is? He is that default, like, video game bad guy that all the faces in their 3-week push have to go up against.
100%. You've nailed it on the head.
For the easy win. Yeah, that's all he is. He's a punching bag. Which is a shame, because his NXT character was actually really good. He had a pretty good... For some reason, NXT London springs to mind. I think, did he beat Apollo Crews on that card or something?
Yeah. I remember I was watching a card.
Something like that. But I just... Every time I think of Baron Corbin, I think of that match and how great he looked. And ever since that one match, he's never hit that stride again. Yeah,
I mean, I just, honestly, and I'm not... I'm not like body shaming or anything like that. He has gained weight, and he's lost like a fire.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It's the character that's
no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that in general, from his what he's putting into matches to how he's keeping himself to how invested he is in promos, it kind of seems like the guy's just given up.
Yeah.
And he just can't be bothered right now. I'm not saying that he's gotten fat or anything. I'm just saying that it looks like he's not.
He's let himself go.
Yeah, he can't be bothered to put the effort in because he's not getting anything.
So what's your actual pick?
For West Gimmick?
Yeah.
I've still got honourable mention.
Okay, come on then. I'm
going to do them real fast. I've got eye for an eye match, because Rey Mysterio's eyeball, obviously. Mm-hmm. Wrestle House was a big one. I don't think you watched that. It was the Big Brother Impact Wrestling series where they got magically taken into a house by Rosemary, and then that came from the Rosemary angle where she got married, and that was god awful. That was so bad. But
you told me about it, so I didn't bother watching it.
My worst gimmick has to be Retribution.
Ooh, Yes, but it's not necessarily the worst gimmick. It's like the beginning potential against what we eventually got.
Yeah, 100% what it became. I think it really hit in for me when not only did Yim's mask fall off and she had to put it back on, but Maya Yim had some sort of fit or spasm, and they hinted at the fact that she had been electronically probed into like being brainwashed, and then they never followed it up, and it's just awful
Vintage
stuff.
WWE.
Yeah, I think that's probably got to be one of the worst things of the year.
It's the terrorists blowing up SmackDown, so we signed them for a contract for me.
And it also leaves a really bad taste in my mouth, because I have no doubt that Vince McMahon came up with this idea to play on Antifa, who are a group in America that Donald Trump really doesn't like.
Right.
So, anyway,
let's not get into that.
I do not want to talk about... Yeah, I don't want to talk about... I feel really sorry for Dijakovic.
Yes.
And I feel really sorry for Ali.
I feel sorry for Ali, but also for Dijakovic, because his series with Keith Lee in NXT was unbelievable. I think that wasn't last year, was it? So that would have been 2019. I think those series of matches were contenders for the best matches of the year in 19.
Yeah. He's a serious talent, and he is one of those guys, actually. A lot of those people are AEW, you know.
AEW's calling.
If you're being treated like that on the main roster and you're Dijakovic, then how long are you going to last?
Yeah. All right.
Worst feud.
What we got? Okay. I'm sorry about this one. Corbin versus Elias at WrestleMania.
Okay. It's really interesting, man, because you know that I love Baron Corbin. My worst feud of the year is Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin.
When did that happen?
It started January. To be fair, it had been going since November of the previous year. Roman Reigns got his revenge by putting dog food on King Corbin on the January.
Yeah, but actually their Royal Rumble match was pretty good.
I still got it.
The Falls Count Anywhere match they had, and then the Usos interfered, and then
that was decent.
Yeah, and then there was like a DDT up on, because it was a baseball field, so on the dugout they did like a DDT on the dugout, which was pretty cool for WWE.
Again, this is. I can't get past the dog food stuff.
No, I'm not gonna let you have that. Actually, I'm gonna put my foot down. I'm not gonna let you have that, because their blow off match was actually decent. Whereas Corbin versus Elias was dog shit to begin with, and then their closing match, their blow off match, was also shite.
Okay.
And
someone got. I'm gonna have to change my pick.
And someone got thrown off a 30-foot balcony, which was obviously very fake, and then he was in a match the very next week.
See, I preferred King Corbin versus Elias.
Come on.
I preferred King Corbin versus Elias.
Do you have any? Do you have any runner-ups for this one?
Yeah, no. I have actually just changed my pick.
Okay. All right, what you got?
No, I've just changed my pick from thinking about Elias.
Okay.
So quickly running through my runner-ups, I've got Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins, Retribution versus Ricochet, and Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy. My new worst feud of the year is Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, for sure that one. That's a much better pick.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that until you started talking about Elias.
I'm gonna allow that one.
The car crash, alcoholism. Since when did you become the dictator? I'm running this show tonight.
For one night only, you're in charge.
There was a car crash. There was alcoholism. They had a bar
that's a good
fight.
pick.
It was just awful trash TV.
It was kind of dropped, and then when Elias came back, it was started up again, and Jeff Hardy was like, I was proven innocent. It was Sheamus, and Elias was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm coming after you anyway.
Yeah, he was literally like, yo, have you watched TV for the last 8 months of your own company? And he was like, no, who's this ginger freak? You killed me. No, it was bad, man. And it bordered on, I remember us talking about it, bordered on distasteful when they started talking about drink driving and stuff like that. It just bad.
Because
bad
weeks
stuff.
before it, they were celebrating Jeff Hardy being sober and how far he's come in his life. Yeah. And then they started this angle about drink driving.
Also felt like a complete punishment. just for Jeff Hardy existing.
Yeah, it was just a dick shot completely.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Most overrated.
Okay, so this one, I feel like I don't have to explain it too much, but I'm not sure you're going to agree. Charlotte Flair.
Fair enough.
Because I really like Rhea Ripley, and I feel like she was completely bulldozed by Charlotte. Not necessarily was Charlotte's fault, but that's what happened.
No, it's fair enough. I was also disappointed with the Rhea Ripley thing. Charlotte is one of those incredibly talented women in the roster that has kind of been taken by Vince McMahon, and they've attempted to turn her into the new John Cena, so that every time you see Charlotte, she's winning, regardless of what it is.
The thing is, she's great on the mic, she's great in the ring, she deserves her spot. I'm not saying that, but she's used too much to the detriment of the rest of the women on the roster.
And I completely agree with you. It's got nothing to do with Charlotte as an individual. It's got everything to do with the way they're using her.
Yeah.
Good pick. I have Matt Hardy.
Okay, yeah.
Hurts my feelings a little bit.
Although when he first debuted, everybody was against him. Well, not against him, but everybody hated when he came to AEW.
Sure, I'm seeing it more from a perspective of AEW's side of things.
Yeah.
By putting him in lots of big profile matches, refusing to admit that the Woken thing is not working, putting him with as an ally to the Elite, giving him the private party team to sort of work on, and just no character work really. It's quite clear that Matt Hardy is not working in AEW at all. And I couldn't think of anybody else really. I was gonna, just to piss you off, I was gonna put Orange Cassidy or the Lucha Brothers.
Yeah,
but
I thought that was coming.
Honestly, it's not true. I haven't seen enough of the Lucha Brothers to call them overrated. And Orange Cassidy,
you can't say shit on the Lucha Brothers. I would kick off. But I'd understand if you said something on Orange Cassidy. Lucha Brothers is one of the best tag teams in the world.
No, see, the Cassidy is not overrated to me because it's been physically proven by data that people like him. If people like him and he sells, then I get it.
He's good at what he does, but AEW tries to cram him into a different style against what he's good at.
Matt Hardy to me is a guy that I respect massively. I had a Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy poster on my wall when I was 8, and I don't want to talk bad of the guy, especially given the horrible incident that happened this year. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I think he really needs to go away and sort of figure out how he can become an elder statesman, because it's not working. Yeah,
I agree with you. His 2020 run in AEW was rough, and it didn't make sense. But as of our recording this week, have you watched the most recent Dynamite? No,
I'm going to be watching that tomorrow morning.
So he was in a segment with Private Party, and it was just a short thing about him making them sign contracts, and it was very... Again, AEW love doing this, I know, and it's a bit stupid, but it was playing off the stereotype of Vince McMahon signing you to a contract that you think is good, but they're taking way too much of your merchandise cut. Anyway,
Matt's turned heel now, right?
Matt's turning heel, and eventually Private Party are going to work out that he's a bad guy, and they're going to feud. So the story he's currently in, I think, is the best place for him. But like you said, his 2020 run was awful.
It's still not exactly exciting, though, is it?
It's not exciting, but it's better than what they've done so far.
But when you do the West of the Year, there's some people that you just really don't like, and then there's some people that you have to give that award to, despite the fact that you don't want to. Mm-hmm. And Matt Hardy's one of those guys. I don't want to give him a West of the Year award. I just feel like I have to.
All right, what we got next?
We have got Worst Talker.
Okay, right. So mine is based off literally one single promo, which might be a little bit unfair, but it was the most disappointing thing I've seen in wrestling of all of 2020. Mine is going to Heath Slater's Impact debut.
Oh, come on, man. Bro, that's so unfair. You know that on Slammiversary they had microphone issues and you couldn't even hear the poor fucker.
Yeah, but the amount of times he stumbled... and he lost track of his words, and some guy I don't even know, but I guess is an Impact guy, came out, and I didn't give a shit, and I don't even think Heath Slater knew the guy's name.
So mean, bro.
And you got to
You're
admit,
talking
it was...
about Rahit Raju, by the way.
Yes, and you got to admit that is one of the worst promos of the year. He stumbled over his words so badly.
It wasn't exactly helped by the fact that you couldn't hear a word the poor guy said. Okay, no, I'll take it though. It was a pretty bad promo, and it was his debut, and he probably should have done a little bit better.
And you know what? There was another promo the week after, or even the week after that, he had, and the guy was saying backstage, "You're not allowed to be here because you're not on the roster." And Heath Slater's like, I got kids. I want to be here. I'm come to see Rhino." Yeah. And it's like you're just replaying the 2017 storyline from SmackDown.
It is actually a fair point. Heath Slater has had an awful Impact debut.
And he's not necessarily a bad talker, but we expected so much from him once he was unleashed from WWE.
He was one of the dark horses, right? Because people were actually kind of quite excited.
Yeah.
I think in part because of the Jinder Mahal came back and became champion, Drew McIntyre came back and became champion. That 3MB thing was going around, and they thought that maybe Heath Slater was like a hidden dark horse talent.
He was going to reinvent himself in Impact.
But then Impact used him as the same character, and he was quite happy with that.
Exact same character.
Yeah. Good, no, valid. My worst talker is Worst Talkers, the Young Bucks. No, come on. I have tried. No, seriously. Seriously, I have tried my very best to be as objective as possible. This is their only Worst of award. I've put my personal opinion on aside. You cannot sit there and tell me that they're not awful promos. Really, really bad promos. They don't know how to talk in front of a camera.
What type of promo are we talking? Are we talking in-ring to the crowd?
Backstage segments.
No, backstage segments. I don't agree with you. I think they're actually okay.
Are you serious?
No. But I'm only saying this because they've had two of some of the best stories throughout the year, and they've been involved in that.
They've been involved in it, but they've been carried in it. I'm serious. When it actually comes to storylines, the Bucks are carried. They do their work in the ring. And they do their work with facial expressions. And I'm not saying that they're bad in ring or facial expressions, but when they get on the microphone or just in general talk backstage, they are awful.
Okay, you know
really
what?
Really bad.
Actually, I think I will give you it. I don't agree that they're carried, but I think you're right when they're talking. Like in promos, it's not so great, but their story work, as in like the emotions and mannerisms that they've done, especially with Hangman, has been really good. But maybe when they're talking, it's not been so believable.
Well, I just want to. There were lots of bad Bucks moments backstage for me personally that I saw where they just can't do that side of the business.
Okay.
But the worst one that I want to state, the one that really sticks in my mind, is when they started to turn a bit heelish. I think either before or after the FTR match, and Tony Schiavone turns up backstage. Bucks open the door, and Matt Buck's there, and Tony Schiavone says, "Hey, what's going on?" You know, and Matt Buck gives some really awkward, half heelish statements like, "What do you want, Schiavone?" and shit like that, and then Matt Buck asks Tony Schiavone for his phone, and then smashes it against the wall, and then just repeats over and over again, "I don't know." Like really, like a 7-year-old that's in a headmistress's office, and it's really, really awkward, and it was really, really bad. And it was worse than sixth form A-level sort of drama studies. It was so bad.
And then the next couple of weeks, they just start super kicking officials.
Yeah, because they realized that they couldn't fucking talk.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you.
Look, there's Young Bucks aren't on any other thing on my worst of. But in terms of being able to deliver a halfway decent promo, they need to go back to school.
Okay.
Worst women's match.
Okay, so this is a little bit hidden down in the realms, but I've got Maya Kim versus Candice LeRae, only because their story promised so much, and then every time they were involved really in a proper match, or they were getting involved in their boyfriends' matches, and they were just having a slap fight.
I remember that. Do you remember a specific example or just in general?
I believe the match I'm thinking of is also on NXT TakeOver in Your House.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I think it was like, no, that was like a 6-man women's tag, right?
So it was the Great American Bash TV special then.
Okay, yeah. That was a feud that could have gone somewhere, but just became about being the wives.
And
really.
I didn't pick feud because I feel like they didn't even do enough for it to be a proper feud. But every match they had was just disappointing, seeing as though both of them are great wrestlers.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good pick. I was really struggling with this one for quite a long time. I was trying to rack my brain for Dana Brooke matches and that sort of thing.
Just any Dana Brooke match on Raw.
But then I came across an absolute stinker, which really upset me, which was the Knockout Gauntlet match from Slammiversary 2020. Do you remember this?
Yes! Actually, I do. Yes.
Yeah. And it was played off as comedy, and Johnny Bravo turned up as dressed as a woman.
I actually do remember that, yes.
Rob Van Dam's girlfriend played a stripper.
Well, that was just her gimmick
Really
all the
bad
time,
stuff.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
But yeah,
sure,
that was really bad. And then there was talents like Jordan Grace in there. Tamelia was in there as well, and so was Kira Hogan. Like, there were some really good women in there.
And they just had to play the comedy bullshit. And it wasn't what Impact Wrestling represents for women's wrestling at all. And as somebody that has a woman in the house who watches wrestling because it's on, and I'm like, yo, Impact Wrestling, they got a great women's division. That's the first thing she saw. Yeah. And it was just terrible. It was a terrible waste of talent. And some of the worst wrestlers they've got on their roster were given the most time. And it just seemed like a complete waste of a segment to me.
Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that, but yeah, now you say it. Yeah, that was bad.
West Tag.
Well,
team.
actually, just before you move on, I just want to go back and say that actually Dana Brooke, I feel like this year has improved so much so that it's been the best wrestling year of her life. Just want to add that.
I mean, you wouldn't be wrong.
Because I just don't want to bag on people for no reason. Like, she's actually improved quite a lot, and her match, not all of them, but some of her matches have actually been pretty half decent.
Okay,
anyway, let's move on.
I wouldn't go towards half decent, but
Quarter decent.
I would agree. I got no scruples about shitting on people. No. I do understand what you're saying. She has improved over the last couple of years.
I think if she can stay in the business for another 10 years, she's actually going to turn out to be a half decent worker.
I give her 10 years, mate. She'll be an Impact ring general.
Well, I mean, give anyone 10 years, but yeah.
Hey. Okay, thanks for your redaction anyway. Worst tag team.
Okay, so it's not an official tag team, but I just remember hating them so much because they were taking screen time away from decent tag teams. So I got Angel Garza and Austin Theory / sometimes Andrade. You remember that? You remember when that was a thing, like early in the year?
I don't remember Angel Garza and Austin Theory.
Yeah, they actually held the belts.
Oh shit! So
over Street Profits, and
Austin Theory joined their team shortly before joining Seth Rollins, right?
Yeah, and they won it from Street Profits. Street Profits run it back, but also like the Viking Raiders were involved in all of that. I think New Day were even on Raw at that time.
I do agree with you largely because Andrade Angel Garza was such a waste of mass talent because both of them are so good. And they were just being thrown together to lose in about 2 minutes, like the Big Show and his mates. It was, the good pick. Austin Theory apparently is doing really well now on NXT, but that was definitely some dark times, and that was a complete waste of talent in general.
It's weird. You say dark times, but as it was happening, we were like, "Oh, look at this amazing new talent that they're giving TV time to." And now looking back at it, it's like they wasted his debut.
I remember us talking about him quite a bit because we didn't hate him. We were just frustrated with the idea that he was thrown out without any sort of character whatsoever.
Exactly.
And I think in that they also, not only did they waste Andrade, who started the year as US champion, I'm pretty sure, but they also wasted Selena Vega, who was a really good manager.
That was it, because Vega was the highlight of all of this, and we kept referring to, because they didn't have a stable name, so we kept referring them to as her hunky lads or something.
Yeah,
Like she was the main attraction, and they were just there in 6-man tags.
Yeah. I would have, if they hadn't lasted 2 weeks because the guy made an inappropriate tweet, I would have put my West team as the Forgotten Sons. And you can make a joke out of that if you want.
I think a lot of people already have.
Yeah, because they were pretty god-awful when they came out. But I've got to give it to The Miz and John Morrison. And I want to paraphrase this before we even get into it. That as performers themselves, I really like both The Miz and John Morrison. Together, under WWE's creative team, they have been the worst example of Vince McMahon's comedy and booking of the entire year.
And they're just those really cheesy schoolyard bullies, where it's like nothing they do is cool or makes sense or really that intimidating. You just want to...
And we've talked about them endlessly because I know that we both like them. We both like both of them.
Yeah.
I like The Miz more than you do, maybe. You like John Morrison more than I do,
But
maybe.
I don't dislike The Miz. I really like The Miz. He needs to be in the perfect situation to be the guy.
These guys, to me, throughout the year, have just become the sort of embodiment of Vince McMahon on TV. They are what Vince McMahon represents. They are his puerile humour. They've been involved in some horrible, horrible segments throughout the year that I'll probably get into at some point.
You know what they are? They're attitude era comedy without being able to literally explode stuff and pull women's skirts down and stick up their middle finger to the boss.
That's a really good analogy. They're basically U or PG rated The Godfather and Val Venus.
Yeah, so they're just left with crashing into... They crashed into... Or they took a hammer to Braun Strowman's car. Well, I can't even remember what else they had a rap song, which in the Attitude Era would have been cool because the rap song would have been edgy.
I think
they
you
just
missed,
came off as lame.
I think you missed the Nightmare Before TLC, which was one of the worst segments of the entire year, in which Miz sat down and told a Christmas story about how AJ Styles was going to beat, I can't even remember, and they had little spotlights, and every time AJ's name was mentioned or John Morrison's name was mentioned, a little spotlight went on, and it was a little Christmas story. And I had no idea who that was aimed for, because, I mean, 26-year-olds are tuning out, 16-year-olds are tuning out, and I think 6-year-olds, even 6-year-olds would find it a bit corny. It was just bad.
Yeah, no, I was gone at that point.
Least improved. I've already mentioned that Baron Corbin was an honourable mention, and I really hope he has a better year this year, because I'm a good fan of him, but least improved.
So are we talking the actual ability or their push?
Either or.
Because you know I love him, but I got to go with Apollo Crews.
Fair point.
Because going into 2020, he was on a high, and it looked like they were going to do something really exciting with him, and then he fell off a cliff, and then got jobbed out a lot.
MVP tried to do something with him. I do feel like MVP pushed for him to have run-ins with the Hurt Business and stuff, but for whatever reason, he also got taken off a pay-per-view for no reason, and they gave him a fake injury because he contracted coronavirus for a little bit, and then they took him off a pay-per-view anyway. Yeah, he's had a pretty bad year. But
if we're going to talk actual ability, I've got a bit of a wild card here.
Go on.
Jon Moxley.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because...
Very interesting.
Because I feel like his championship run got boring quite quickly. Now, a lot of people love him. I know that. And I like him. But he did nothing to change up what he was doing until until only a couple of months ago. He really changed up his character enough to be interesting again. So I feel like as the years progressed, he's not improved what he was doing. Although what he was doing wasn't bad, because he was world champion, of course, but he wasn't doing anything to freshen what was wrong.
Okay. I'm not going to comment on that. I've just...
Because you disagree or because you agree?
I'm just going to allow you to put that out into the air. I'm just not
I
going to say
love
anything
Jon
about it.
Moxley, and I especially love the match he had with Eddie Kingston, and I loved everything he's done with Kenny Omega. Although I think that was 19, so I'm not against him, but you know.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I've got honourable mention of the New Day, who seem to have been treading water all year, not doing anything in particular. And they've gotten to a point in their promos where they're starting to become a bit obnoxious, and they're kind of heelish while they're still baby faces, and they're just getting really annoying. But my main one is both from a creative standpoint and from a ability standpoint. Miro fell off a cliff. He started the year by being involved in a really bad angle with Bobby Lashley and Lana over a wedding.
Was Rusev ever on top of the cliff, really?
He came out at WrestleMania in a tank against John Cena.
No, I meant it last year.
Sure.
But career-wise, yeah.
But, it's a weird thing to me because obviously he got treated like shit in WWE. Nobody's under the pretense that he didn't. But I feel like, in a weird way, almost like I don't know. It feels like he's being treated in worse condition in AEW by his own volition. It seems like he wants this video game character, because AEW's famous for allowing the talent to do what they want, and it kind of seems that Vince, even giving him all of this terrible stuff, did a better job of getting him over than he's doing with his own power of creativity. He's playing video games in malls and talking to the guy that broke the Donkey Kong record, the celebrity that broke the Donkey Kong record, and he's the best man hanging around with Kip Sabian.
I think
whole thing is just dreadful.
The whole thing's been awful in 2020. Definitely deserves that. I think in 21 they've turned that corner already. Who was it that he was being the shit out of? I don't know, but on 2 different Dynamites now. No, one Dynamite he's closed the show being like his hand raised over a load of bodies, and one other show just halfway through the show he laid out everyone. So I think they've turned the corner on it. But for 2020, I definitely agree with you.
I hope so, because I remember talking to you about when Miro was released from WWE. I remember talking about that on this podcast, and how I saw kind of a dream match is Cody versus Miro in like a USA versus Russia old school wrestling match, you know. And what I actually got was him in Gucci t-shirts playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, they've come nowhere near close to any of those dream matches yet.
There's
a lot. There's a lot of great matches.
I really do hope that Miro has a good year, and I really don't want to think that this is his own design.
But not just Rusev, but or Miro. A lot of matches and pushes, I feel like everyone was treading water waiting for crowds to come back. And then they realised crowds weren't coming back, and then it was too late to pull the trigger.
Well, this is something that I noticed when I was doing Best Feud. It's really hard to pick Best Feud for me because the feuds this year lasted a lot less time than feuds normally do. It was all kind of a one and done pay-per-view thing because they were trying to get quick bucks, quick month ratings brackets instead of actually building towards something that they know would get more because of a crowd. So it's been a weird year. So I do have to give that out to people that have struggled or programs that have struggled this year. And I do hope it turns a corner. But yeah, Miro was not impressive this year whatsoever. We move on to worst pay-per-view of the year, bro.
Easy. Money in the Bank.
That's my honourable mention.
It had Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, but even that I feel like could have been better.
I thought it was halfway decent.
It was good, but could have been better. We had... off the top of my head, it was Bray and Braun, right, on that show?
But it wasn't The Fiend, it was Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, it was in the sweater.
And then there was that really awkward point where Braun put his mask on for no reason. Yeah, that was bad.
That was really bad. And then obviously that Money in the Bank match, which changed the course of history and made B-movies an official thing. And I remember the podcast we did on it and just how angry I was.
You were so angry. I've actually never seen you that angry at a wrestling show. I was disappointed and relatively frustrated, but you were seething.
I think I shouted for 2 hours.
Yeah, you did. I didn't really talk much that show.
What have you got?
I've got... That's an honourable mention. I've got WWE Super Showdown 2020 in Saudi.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure whether you bothered to watch that one.
Is that the Tyson one?
No, that was 2019, the Tyson one. This one was a real nothing show.
This was Goldberg dropping Taker on his head.
No, this was Goldberg defeating Bray Wyatt in 2 minutes and 56 seconds for the WWE Championship.
Oh, maybe I didn't even watch this show.
I don't think you did. It's not worth it.
Did Mansoor win?
Yes, he did, and Mansoor had the only halfway decent match on the show.
Yeah, he did. Go Mansoor.
Dolph Ziggler. That was the only decent match on the show. Everything else was dreadful. Brock Lesnar dropped Ricochet in 1 minute and 34 seconds. Roman Reigns had an awful steel cage match with King Corbin. The whole thing was just one of those... It wasn't necessary... Oh, there was an awful gauntlet match involving R-Truth, AJ, Undertaker... Just really bad shit.
R-Truth and Undertaker.
Yeah. Well, no, it was a gauntlet match, so it was like whoever wins stays on. But it was
but
not necessarily the worst show in the world. It was more just one of those shows where absolutely nothing happens and what you are watching is below quality content.
I definitely didn't watch this show. I'm confusing 19 with this show. So
Yeah, this was early in the year. It was just I think it was
before the Rumble.
After Rumble, before Elimination Chamber.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely 100% that one.
Do you reckon we'll get a Saudi show this year?
No, but I have read that we will be getting some sort of Indian show.
India?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think it might be NXT, but
Yeah,
there's...
that makes sense.
Yeah, but they've used the same... What's interesting is they've used the same type font, the same graphics as Saudi. So this must be their new sort of...
So all of Asia,
Yeah.
it gets the Saudi deal.
Yeah. Where are we at? Oh, I guess worst men's match?
Worst men's match?
Yeah.
I generally haven't even written that one down. Oh, no, I have.
haven't got
Oh,
it
no,
on
I
mine
have.
either.
Yeah, no, worst men's match, which is very fitting. The Money in the Bank. It couldn't not be. It made me so angry, and I know we also have a category for worst B-movie, and this technically was a B-movie match, but Money in the Bank usually isn't a B-movie match. It usually is a regular match, so I'm classing it as a regular match. And, yeah, it just made me so angry. It couldn't not be this.
Mick Foley's son-in-law dressed as Doink the Clown haunts me to this day. I still remember him behind some weird armchair just peeping up for no reason.
And what a strange reference. Nobody cares about that guy. I feel like maybe 500 people even watched the Noel Foley documentary.
My former guy Baron Corbin killing Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, he threw them off a building, and then they just turned up next week. It's fine.
Yeah, because apparently they just fell off onto a lower building.
Well, they did, because you could see it in the big shot. You could see that they didn't fall off the building.
But nobody bothered to mention it on commentary.
Yeah, nobody literally said a thing. And then stupid
Otis
ending
became
where,
Money in the Bank.
by just catching it.
And then they did that for 6 months. They got bored of him, put it on Miz, taking it away from Miz, and now Miz is once again Money in the Bank.
Anyway, but the actual match, I tell you why this made me so angry. Because this could have been fantastic. It could have been amazing. But it was just a load of people. And, well, the women's as well. The women's was happening at the exact same time. Let's not forget. So, I mean, that's contender for one of the worst matches for the women as well. But
I just assuming you're treating it all as one.
yes, sure, I will, because it was just all bad. It was a load of people running around, and then there was comedy skits in the main event, but there was nothing. There was no...
Got Brother Love.
I know, but like if...
John Laurinaitis.
Yeah, but come on. If we're having a match in the headquarter office, someone needs to go for a table, someone needs to go for a wall, just pick up a coffee machine and throw it at someone. Like,
I mean,
someone needs to go for
so many bad moments in that. Dana Brooke thinking that she'd won the Money in the Bank because there was a briefcase in a conference room
full of money, and then we joked she should have just taken that shit instead.
Oh, man.
And then Stephanie McMahon, who obviously wasn't in the room, she filmed that shit at home, was like, "That's the wrong case, like, you idiot."
Oh, that was bad, yeah.
And then
that was
AJ
really,
gets
really
spooked because there's a special taker room. Why the fuck is there a taker room in the head office? Anyway, if they wanted a really cool Falls Count Anywhere style match, they could have done so much with weapons and cool stunts, and they did nothing. They just ran around for half an hour until they got on top of the building, and Baron Corbin pretended to kill someone, and then Otis just caught the briefcase. He didn't even climb the ladder. Because he couldn't, remember? He was too fat to climb a ladder. The ladder would break every time he tried to climb it. And it's all coming back to me now, and it's making me very angry.
I can tell on it. This is scary levels of fucking Ben anger.
And he just caught the fucking briefcase. And then Oscar won it like 5 minutes beforehand because she just happened to be the first one there. No one even thought. I think Lacey Evans got there, one kick, done. She just got it. It was just a nothing. It was just a nothing. Just nothing for 40 minutes.
Bro. Okay, bro. Okay. No, I
could have been great. It was nothing.
I do one of the worst matches of the year.
What have you got?
I think this one's more personal. I really, probably way more than you, really like The Fiend. Really enjoy his gimmick. Overall, I think, regardless of what WWE Creative does with him, I think he's an incredibly talented individual. And I think he deserves to be in the main event. Whether what he's given in the main event is different. It's a different thing. But he's one of the few guys, to me, that can immerse me without being a technically good wrestler. Like, he doesn't need to have a good match. He's got that Hulk Hogan quality of having enough charisma to draw you in without necessarily knowing how to do some sort of leg lock.
Yep.
And Goldberg was my childhood hero. He was my favourite wrestler. I didn't have Sky Sports. I didn't have Sky in general. Only had Stone Cold Steve Austin in action figure and a t-shirt. I'd never seen a match by him. But Goldberg was on TV every Friday on Channel 5, and he was my first champion, and he was my favourite wrestler for a very long time when I was a kid. Goldberg coming back for a Saudi paycheck and squashing my new favourite wrestler 20 years later in 2 minutes for no particular reason because it was WrestleMania season has to be something that kind of really upset me. So
and that's it there as well for no reason.
Yeah, Goldberg versus The Fiend at Super Showdown for the Saudi money paycheck. It has to be my worst match of the year just because it made me feel upset. Because you've got my childhood favourite there going against a guy that I think has some real quality in the wrestling business just because money talks.
Oh, yeah, and so many people, not just us, so many people say it all the time. It's just the legends burying the current roster. It just doesn't need to happen.
And it's really upsetting me because it's kind of like Goldberg walking over his own grave at this point. He's just sort of demolishing any good memories that I hold with him because he's just refusing to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even...
Kind of like a lot of people feel like The Undertaker, probably. That's how I'm starting to feel with Goldberg.
But at least The Undertaker somewhat gives back. Whereas Goldberg, like, I never saw him as an egotistical guy. I didn't think he was like that. But he just keeps coming back and winning. He's not giving back.
Well, I don't even think it's Goldberg. I think it's Vince realizing that Goldberg is pretty much the only guy he's got now. Because Goldberg and Vince McMahon have never had a great relationship. It's just Vince needs him now because every wrestler that he could ever rely on is gone. If you think about it, Undertaker's retired, John Cena's in movies, The Rock's in movies, Brock Lesnar's not coming back anytime soon. All he's got is Goldberg.
If he wants to
make money,
well, if he wants to get over himself, he could get Punk back.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I mean, it's not gonna happen, but it could.
In my head, it's more likely that I see CM Punk in AEW than in WWE.
For sure, but if both of them wanted to get over themselves and make some real money, they could make it happen. And they both know it as well. They can't.
Dude, can you imagine the first proper live pay-per-view back and Cult of Personality hitting?
The wrestling world would lose itself. And we said last year or the year before that it's done for Punk. He's left it too long. But nah, I don't think so. I think...
No, dude, no way. Well, I remember us talking about that. I still think I would mark the fuck out if CM Punk just...
But you're right. If Tony Khan... Punk said it himself. If Tony Khan comes with a sensible financial offer and a good story that makes sense, he'll do it.
That really pisses me off, actually, because, I mean, can nobody come up with a good creative idea for CM Punk to turn up?
But that's the thing. But Punk said it himself. If he goes to WWE, who's he going to face? Because everyone that's interesting is a fucking jobber. Like, he'd want to face someone... Sure. He'd want to face... You know, but if he goes to AEW, there's actual interest there.
But I'm talking AEW here. Shouldn't they be hanging their heads in shame that they can't come up with a good idea for CM Punk? Can we please, like, have a little meeting where we focus on coming up with a fucking idea for CM Punk?
I didn't say it I didn't say it in our predictions episode, because I don't think it's going to happen next year, because I think with COVID they're waiting for crowds. But I think 22, Punk will go. They'll come up with an idea. Him versus Kenny Omega. Can you imagine? Fuck me.
Yo,
it'll be huge.
When I was 6, bro, I was NWO for life. If they bring back my second favorite wrestler of all time in 2022, I'm AEW for life, bro.
And he will go against the Elite. He'll come back as a face against a heel Elite. That's a license to print money.
Worst promotion.
Okay, my worst promotion is obviously WWE, but it's specifically Raw.
Okay.
Because SmackDown's been okay, NXT's okay. It's just Raw.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I've got WWE as well. Do you really want me to spoil my Botch of the Year?
No, don't spoil your Botch. Don't spoil your Botch.
Okay. Well, it's involved with WWE anyway. But it's a no-brainer that WWE is the West of the Year. I can't really think of anybody that could say anything else. I mean, I've got a very, very, very light honourable mention to NWA. They have not dealt with the pandemic well at all. But can you really compare that to some of the stuff that WWE has pulled? It's unbelievable.
They tried. They tried their hardest, and they just missed the mark. Where WWE
didn't work out.
Trying.
If this was West of the Year for independents that have dealt with the pandemic, I would give it to NWA. But they tried something, it failed. Whereas WWE are just seemingly on a mission to self-destruct. They're like when the American government put monkeys in spaceships in the 1950s to test them out. That's what it feels like to watch a Raw these days.
Yeah, they're just not learning from the mistakes.
It goes past that, though. It's almost like bloody-mindedness. It's not just not learning from mistakes. It's putting stuff on despite the fact that seemingly you know that it's going to bomb. Mm-hmm. Like the H-phone, like whatever, like Retribution, like
I generally think that they thought the H-phone was a clever idea, was a clever little comedy skit.
I'm sure Vince McMahon
Underground bumped the viewer figures.
Yeah, but
the very first one, at least.
Don't you find it sad that Raw Legends Night it got loads of commentary on the internet because it got Raw past 2 million for once? This same show 6 years ago was making 5-6 million viewers, and people like WWE marks say, people just watch it on the internet these days. People were watching it on the internet 6 years ago when it was having 5 million viewers.
Yeah,
it's got nothing to do with the internet at this point. The WWE have lost 4-5 million viewers themselves by just being bloody minded and refusing to listen to anybody and just being then in their own terrible creative bubble with some of the worst scripted promos I've ever seen.
And you're right, because the people that were watching on the internet just aren't doing that now either.
2014 is not actually that long ago for me. I was watching on the internet in 2014. If I wanted to watch Raw in 2014, I did not have Sky. I watched Raw on the internet. That argument holds absolutely no water whatsoever. People haven't just moved to online streaming sites. It's quite an obvious fall-off in the American public of people that just can't be bothered with this shit anymore. And I don't know how much longer it's going to go and how low the ratings are going to fall before something happens.
I think they're going to get cancelled.
And that's the scariest part of it all. I really don't want to see Raw cancelled. But it is legitimately getting to this point.
Raw might be alright on USA because USA is quite a small channel, right, in America.
Yeah.
I firmly believe Fox will cancel their deal with SmackDown whenever that's renewed.
Yeah, Fox is too big for the ratings that SmackDown are getting.
But I think USA will keep them, but push them to do something different.
Regardless, as guys that, for better or worse, have grown up with WWE since they were kids, this is a really depressing sight to see.
Yeah.
Worst female.
Right, so I feel a bit bad about this one, but I just couldn't think about who else to give it to. But I feel quite bad about it. But I'm giving it to Nyla Rose.
Okay.
She's... And
Interesting.
it's not... Yeah, but it's not her fault because of the lockdown and travel restrictions. AEW's already pretty flimsy women's division shrunk down to about 4 or 5 people. 4 or 5 women. Nyla Rose just happened to be the one that was just always in the main event, and she actually had some pretty good matches with Ashida. At least one of them was pretty good, but Nyla Rose just never... They billed her as this undefeatable monster, and she was never that. So it's not necessarily her fault, because she's actually pretty good in the ring, but because the roster was so weak, there was too much of a spotlight on her, and I don't think she was ready for it.
She also had this horrible gimmick at Full Gear, again, no fault of her own, where Vicky Guerrero slapped her and, like, called her a piece of shit, and then
she just took it.
She just got upset about that.
Yeah.
Like, way to break your monster. That is... Nyla Rose really is a kind of way to, like, how to break your monster in a year sort of thing.
See, I wanted to give it to Charlotte because I was really angry about how the Charlotte-Rhea Ripley feud went. But that was unfair because every Charlotte match is golden. She's amazing in the ring.
Yeah.
And her and Rhea Ripley wasn't really her fault. It was probably just a lack of communication between Triple H and Vince really that dropped the ball on that. But Nyla Rose, I feel like, even with bad creative, could have stepped up and done something with it. But I feel like she just didn't. I don't know.
I do not feel bad about my worst female of the year whatsoever. I will throw Iron Sheik shade on this woman. She is unsafe in the ring. She is a terrible promo. She's a terrible worker. She has no psychology. She's only got a job because of her cousin. She has been in some of the worst matches of the entire year. She's been in some of the worst matches of the entire decade. She's hurts people just by giving basic moves. She is unprofessional to an extent that I don't think that she has the level of talent to be on television. She is Nia Jax. I can't stand anything that I watch with Nia Jax. She's not a good... And I've got no problem with big women wrestlers. Awesome Kong is one of the best female wrestlers I've ever seen. Nia Jax is not Awesome Kong. She can't work in the ring. She hurts her opponents, and she's a terrible promo. And she won a tag team championship with Shayna Baszler at Payback 2020, and completely broke character. Went up to the camera and started shouting, "Hey, look at me, mum! Look at me, mum!"
I totally agree with you, and honestly, I literally had the same pick. I think you're right.
I understand your pick. Nyla Rose is more an unfortunate set of circumstances and creative, whereas Nia Jax seems to be Nia Jax.
I just didn't want to be mean and dunk on someone, but, like, to be honest, yeah, Nia Jax is probably the worst worker in a main event spot.
Nia Jax is the only person on this list that I would actively dunk on, really. Like, I even gave sort of some positive points and defended, even to an extent, Excalibur. But Nia Jax...
No, you didn't. Fuck off.
I did. I said... No.
You said he gets bullied sometimes.
And that I don't agree with that. And I said that if he wanted to stay in the business, he should go get some industry experience.
But I agree. But I agree
tried
with
to be
you.
constructive with Excalibur.
But I agree with you. Nia Jax, I don't think deserves the spot she has, and I don't understand why they continue to try and put her in matches with Bayley, Sasha, Becky,
Rock's cousin.
Charlotte.
Rock's cousin.
Yeah, but so are the Usos, and they paid their dues for 5, 6, 7 years.
maybe The Rock prefers Nia Jax.
Maybe, but
I don't know, man. I did not get along with Nia Jax this year. I've got an honourable mention for Big Swole because nothing... And again, I go back to what you're saying where I don't want to dunk anybody. I was dunking on Nia Jax 100%. Big Swole's just not clicking with me. I don't know what it is.
again, Big Swole isn't necessarily bad. She's definitely a mid-carder, but because of travel restrict... Again, AEW's women division was weak, and they relied a lot on their Japanese women, and they lost...
Let's not beat around the bush. AEW women's roster this year has been awful.
Well, it's been awful from the very beginning, and they've relied heavily on their Japanese talent who couldn't come and do the shows after lockdown restrictions. So people like Big Swole had to step up from the mid-card when they weren't ready. She's not necessarily bad, but she didn't deserve the spot she got.
Yeah. Okay. Last category, West Male.
Oh, this one I'm really sad about.
Got like a personal one, which is kind of like jokey, you know what I mean? But in terms of picking a legitimate one, I did actually find it quite difficult.
I think I would have thought maybe we would have the same pick, but I think you've forgotten about the person I'm going to mention.
Go on.
And this one is quite painful, but it's true. And it's Shawn Spears.
Oh, man.
I love Shawn Spears. I've loved him in his NXT run. I loved him.
Completely forgot about Shawn
I know
Spears.
you did,
yeah.
but I definitely think you agree with me that when he first came into AEW was really exciting, and even 2019 had an okay run. 2020 has been awful. Again, he's a guy that I feel like his creative has been so bad, he gave up, and then
Didn't he had like a 3-minute match with Dustin Rhodes where Dustin stripped him down to his underpants, right?
Yeah, that's a low point of your career. And
yo, it must be so fucked to go from being not treated well and being a jobber in WWE to going to the promised land of AEW and being treated like a jobber.
And I don't get it because Cody put him over huge big time in 2019.
Well, that was a massive talking point when Cody took this unprotected chair shot that everybody was going mad about, and he gave that opportunity to Shawn Spears. They've even given him Tully Blanchard.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether he is dropping the ball and they have no confidence in him, or whether the creator's been so bad and the crowd just haven't... Because he's good, but 2020 has not been good for him.
Shawn Spears is actually really weird because I've always criticized the fact that AEW has a problem with putting guys in their place. Like they try to build everyone up, and therefore you never get guys at absolute magnum heat level. Yeah. But with Shawn Spears, they seem to have just kind of like absolutely put him as the lowest rated sort of guy on the main roster, like not dark.
But I like him, but his 2020 run is probably maybe the worst of a decent male wrestler.
Another guy that they've completely dropped the ball with is Scorpio Sky, in my opinion.
They've given him a few spotlights, and I think they're waiting for SCU to break up, and then they're going to give him a monster push.
I hope he's part of a good 2021. I wish a really good 2021 to Adam Page, Scorpio Sky, and Rusev.
Yeah.
My worst male, Marco Stunt, bro.
There we go.
I can't.
There we go.
I wouldn't be able to say anyone else. Honestly, come on.
And who came second
He's the
place?
one guy.
And who came second place?
Second
Orange
place
Cassidy.
Second place was actually quite difficult for me to admit because I saw that he was trying, and I saw that he looked great, and he was carrying himself. He was trying to carry himself like a champion, but I had to go with Braun Strowman.
Okay.
He had a bad year. He was given the belt for no reason, just because he was living in Florida, and he got jacked for it, and he looked good. He looked like a champion, but whenever he opened his mouth or had a match, it showed his shortcomings very, very easily, to a point where I think the entire wrestling community could see very easily that Braun Strowman was not ready for that level, because all of us had wanted Braun Strowman to be at that level for quite a long time, and when they actually finally pulled the trigger because they had to, we could see that he wasn't there.
In a specific place, he's amazing, and he's the best at being the monster brawler that does all the big spots. But as an all-rounder, I don't think he'll ever be an all-rounder. And that's what they asked him to do this year.
But, I mean, again, I have to place blame at WWE's doorstep to a point, because with other promoters and other companies, you have taken the shortcomings and you've hidden them, just like Paul Heyman says, and you've emphasized the strengths.
Yeah.
And what they asked Braun Strowman to do was just be everything on a national stage during a pandemic, and he was never going to be able to deliver that. But at the same time, his performances while champion, as good as he looked and as much as he tried, just did not work whatsoever. And I highly doubt that he's going to be given a championship opportunity again anytime soon.
Anyway,
Marco Stunt.
Don't you think the exact same situation, that he's not that bad, but AEW have just put him in a position he doesn't deserve, or he's not good at?
Yeah, no. That was part of my point. I do believe that he has a quality. I do believe that he has a talent, and I'm going to refer back to one of my favorite wrestlers, Taz. The way that he was treated in ECW, the way that he was booked in ECW, the way that everybody loved him, respected him, and feared him, and then the way that he became a jobber and a joke within 3 months of a WWE run. It's how you use guys and how you book them and how you choose to show them. And Braun Strowman has been a bad effect of that, and he couldn't stand up to it. But he's not even my worst male. Marco Stunt my worst male. So
but that's what I'm saying. Marco Stunt as well. That AEW have put him in the wrong position. And if you put him in the right place, that's the point I was trying to make. That if he's in the right place, he's not that bad. This is a
guy on the independent circuit this year that was forced to put his mouth onto a dildo. Come on.
But that's just some indie bullshit.
Yo, so he is indie bullshit. He's walking carny, bro. I don't wanna have a go at anybody's height or anything. We've seen lots of.
Rey Mysterio is the most beloved wrestler in the world.
I don't want to have a go at anybody's height or anything. We've seen lots of famous wrestlers like Rey Mysterio who have made a name for themselves by being great. Marco Stunt is not that. He is.
No, I'm not saying Marco Stunt is Rey Mysterio, but what I'm saying is, if you use him correctly, he could be effective.
What is his use? Because I can see.
I already pitched to you on this very podcast. Drop Jungle Boy from the trio and give him a push into mid card, whatever you want to do with him, and have Marco Stunt and Luchasaurus as like a comedy act tag team.
Luchasaurus is worth more than that. If Marco Stunt wants to be in the wrestling business,
I love Luchasaurus.
There is one good role for him, okay? If I needed to give Marco Stunt a job, right? Just say I'm Tony Khan, I'm giving Marco Stunt a job. First of all, I would not put him with Jack Perry. I would not put him
would be the local town jobber, right? No, dude.
I would not put him with Luchasaurus. I would not let him wrestle whatsoever, okay? He is my Jimmy Hart. That's Marco Stunt.
Which is basically what he does for the Jurassic Express anyway. I do not want to...
And God rest Brody Lee's soul. But this was one of the most annoying parts of my entire year. Marco Stunt getting moves on fucking Brody Lee. Are you kidding me, bro? Yeah. Marco Stunt should just not... I'm sorry, but he's too small. He is too small to be... He's too small, he's too skinny to be involved in wrestling... matches with like these giant 7-foot guys, and to actually get a believable drop kick in, it's just not. It passes reality, and I'm quite sure that if you allowed him, I'm not, like you said, I'm not going to dunk on people unnecessarily. I'm sure he's got enough talent to get to the point where he has with AEW. He's making some very bad decisions on the independent market, let me tell you that, but whatever. If he wants to be involved in the wrestling business, the best port of call for him is manager. Just manager. Shit, chicken heel manager. If that's what he wants to be, then that he should be that. But I can't... There's just no way you can buy him as even an underdog. You know?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, yeah,
And
I
that
agree. Yeah, I
dildo
agree
shit
with that.
really rubbed me up the wrong way.
That's just some really shitty indie stuff. Just
It could have
forget
also
about it.
gotten his boss pulled off TV.
I don't think so.
Come on. If they
Not
just
that bad.
happened to see a picture of that and realise that that's the guy that is shown on TV every week, if they could find a picture of it, then they'll realise the general public could find a picture of it, and then they'd throw him
Actually,
off.
to be fair, after you sent that to me and you told me about that, Jungle Express have not been used a lot on TV for a long time.
Yeah, so now Marco Stunt, added to Worst Male of the Year, this is fucking over Jack Perry. Come on.
And Luchasaurus.
And Luchasaurus.
I love Luchasaurus. I know you don't like a big man doing a
I got
somersault.
time for him. I wish he'd
But,
just do I wish he'd stop doing the high flying spots and stuff. Like the I mean not I know that's
That's
I
the
know
special
that's his
attraction,
gimmick.
though,
I
isn't
mean
it?
like the multi-man jumping on multi-people stuff.
Yeah. Well, that is our award ceremony, at least the worst
It will
of.
definitely get better
So-
from here on out.
So next time, on next week's pod, we're going to do the best of. We're gonna put on the tuxedos, we're gonna walk the red carpet, and it's time to celebrate the best of 2020.
This is gonna be a very
instead of
positive
the
one.
worst. Yeah, because that one was a very negative
But
one.
tonight I'm going to sleep depressed. My lasting
So
memory is Marco fucking Stunt, mate.
Well, that's your own fault. So until then, keep it botched up, brother.
Keep it botched, brother.
Like, share, and subscribe to keep it botched up, brother.